Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. We're holding ourselves together with duct tape and glue today. Got a lot going on. I think Zach and I have been running around all morning, going to Spurs practice, UTSA practice. We got March Madness going on. We've already had an upset. Zach, how are you?
A little mini upset. Yeah, no, I'm good. Busy day.
Very busy day. So let's get right to it. This is probably going to be a little bit of a shorter episode than we usually do. We got a lot of March Madness going on. Duquesne just upset BYU. Did you have that in your bracket?
I don't believe I did. I had BYU, I think, but I didn't have BYU going very far.
I think I had BYU losing to Illinois anyway.
Yeah,
so
that sounds right for me.
Or either Illinois or Iowa State, one of the two. But anyway, so we got a lot going on. This is episode 86, Thursday, March 21st. Zach Hedrick, Matt Roy. We got NCAA tournament action we'll talk about. We'll give you our Final Fours. We got Wemby is getting more talk about Defensive Player of the Year. His odds have shrunk a little bit. Plus, Wemby is soaring to new heights. We'll figure out
what you did there.
You'll see what I said. See what that means here in a couple of minutes.
Nobody knows.
That's what's called a tease. But first, as always, we get to number 86, our number game. Hines Ward's stuck out to me. Hines Ward is the first one that came to mind. I
think for our generation that sticks out. I can't think of any other 86s. I'm sure there's some, historian that is like, there's one big one, but 86 for my generation, I think of Hines Ward and just, he was the epitome of, a Pittsburgh Steeler, right?
Right. I mean, and that probably gives Bob some nightmares about his Cleveland Browns and whatnot, but it's okay.
Silently
we won't talk about it for too long. Buck Buchanan, also a Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Famer. Zach Ertz of our generation as well.
Yeah,
good. Number 86, probably a lot of Cowboys fans.
Who's moved teams again? I think, right?
Isn't he a Commander now?
He might be.
I think he's a Commander.
He's hopped around a lot recently.
Yeah, and then Butch Johnson, Cowboy from 76 to 83, so got a nice little Cowboy in there, number 86. And then for all of our hockey friends out there, the Lightning, it's Nikita Kucherov. Call him Cooch.
Sure. The only hockey players I know are Mike Modano, Brett Hull from the 2000 Stanley Cup winning Stars. Mike Modano, who just got a statue up in Dallas, by the way.
Did he?
He did.
I was in Dallas the other day to see I saw the Dirk statue. It was nice. They got it perfect with his fadeaway too. It was
the
cool.
one-legged. Yeah, it's the iconic shot.
Yeah. Also happening in '86, the '85 Bears defeated the Patriots 46-10, winning their capping off a 15-1 season that they had. The Super Bowl MVP was to Richard Dent. Do you know who the only game that they lost to was in that season? The 86?
For the Bears?
Yeah, '85 season.
I don't know. That's a good trivia question, though. I would say somebody in their division, but no.
I believe it was Dan Marino and
the Dolphins.
And the Dolphins, I believe. Yeah, I think they had to put up like 400 some odd yards and like 4 touchdowns. He went off that day. It was the worst performance of the year for the Bears, and then they never lost again. Also that year, Lawrence Taylor was the MVP of the league. He had 20.5 sacks. I believe it's the last defender to win the MVP was Lawrence Taylor about 39 years ago. Much to my disdain, the Mets defeated the Red Sox in the '86 World Series 4-3. That is forever known as the Bill Buckner series.
I don't know. Series, yeah. Well, I think of the Bill Buckner game, yeah.
Yeah, Bill Buckner, obviously, I don't know why series turning on. Bill Buckner obviously goes through his legs. The Vince Scully call will always resonate in my head. It gets through Buckner.
Yeah, and I just like the intonation that he has as the play's happening. Behind the bag, it gets through Buckner.
Yeah, it gets through him. It doesn't get past him. It literally goes through his legs. And so Vince Scully with the glorious call for all Mets fans and horrible call for all Red Sox fans is Mookie Wilson. Hits the go-ahead run, and the Mets continued and went on to win the World Series, continuing the curse of the Bambino.
Amazing Mets.
NCAA tournament in '86, Louisville beat Duke 72-69. Celtics beat the Rockets 4-2. Larry Bird was the NBA MVP that year, and the Valero Texas Open. Ben Crenshaw won in '86, as that is just 2 weeks away now.
Coming up. And I think, was that the first year? I think Crenshaw was a 2-time winner.
I believe he was.
That might have been his first time, though. I can't remember.
I believe you're correct that he was a 2-time winner. I'm going to pull up my bracket here. We're going to get into March Madness here. So We went through a lot of it on Monday with Don. So we're not going to spend too much time on it right now. But now that we have our stuff finalized, mine has already gone by the wayside a little bit because I think I started out 0-2.
Can't be that
today.
bad.
It's not that bad. But with BYU losing and Mississippi State losing, I had Mississippi State beating UNC. So I had Mississippi State at least going to the Sweet 16, so that's going to hurt me a little bit. Zach, while I pull mine up, why don't you give me your Final Four and maybe any major upsets that you have predicted?
All right, so my Final Four, I have Auburn coming out of the East. This, I think, is a bit of a gamble. North Carolina out of the West. Tennessee I have out of the Midwest, and Houston will be coming out of the South. Those are my Final Four.
So
Auburn, North Carolina, Houston, and Tennessee.
A 4, 2 1s, and a 2.
A 2.
And a 2. Okay. And then you got Houston winning?
Houston is my winner. I'm not too confident in Carolina because I think there's some good teams in there. Baylor could be, one that sneaks out of there because last check, I know this is unfolding as it happens, but Arizona only up by 5 or 6
they were up
at the
8.
half.
I think it was 6 at half against Long Beach. What a story for Long Beach.
But, this is all, like the first weekend, it's all about the second halves, right? It's like, sure, somebody may have a halftime lead, but can they sustain that for over 40 minutes?
Right, and that's where a lot of people get tripped up. It's like, oh, look how competitive Akron was with Creighton in the first half, and now I think last time I checked, Akron was down by 20.
Creighton's starting to boat race them a little bit. I think the big upset that I have, and I think a lot of people are maybe picking this one, is I have James Madison over Wisconsin. That's maybe about the biggest upset that I think I have in the first round.
That is a popular one. Arizona now up by 21, by the way, on Long Beach.
Okay.
So they're starting to run away with it in the second half. That is a popular one, though, is James Madison. A lot of the 12-5 matchups are really popular upsets.
Yeah, and from what, that always seems to be the cutoff point, right? 12-5 because, 11-6 on down, you find those matchups to be almost pretty evenly matched.
Yeah. I think my biggest, for me, for my Final Four in my main bracket, obviously I have like 10. But in my main bracket, I have Iowa State beating Arizona in the Final Four. So that's 2 seeds. And then I have Houston beating Tennessee. So I have 3 2s and a 1.
Okay.
And then in the final, I have Houston beating Iowa State. So it's a rematch of the
Big 12
championship game.
That would be exciting.
That would be awesome. In my other one, I have Auburn winning because I really just don't believe in UConn. I think UConn's ripe for an upset against Auburn. I just love Auburn's team.
They lost. Yeah, I know a lot of the college basketball experts and nerds that pay attention to it a lot more than we do, in the final month or whatever. They by far and away they're saying UConn is the best team, but they did lose a lot. They lost 3 guys to the NBA, 5 of their top 8 scorers or whatever it is are gone. But they do have the guards, I think, and of course it boils down to that a lot.
Yeah, they have the guard play. They have a big man too. It's just a lot of really good play on UConn. So,
user David Garcia would like credit for pronouncing. How do you say Duquesne?
Duquesne.
He picked Duquesne in his bracket, so he.
Or if you're Dak Prescott, Duquesne.
Did you pick Duquesne, David? That's good for you, man. That's not what I did. So here we are. I'm 0 for 2 in my main bracket. I'm about to be 0 for 3 because I picked Akron to upset Creighton. So here we are.
I had Akron to win it all.
I'm sure that some
people
did.
The Ohio.
I'm sure that some people did.
Zips.
Yeah, I think my major upset. I have Colorado doing really well. I have Colorado making it to an Elite 8.
That game that they had against Boise State last night was a rock fight.
It was entertaining.
I thought I was watching like a late 90s NBA game.
Not as much as the Virginia CSU game.
Well, it started off bad offensively for both teams, but it was, I don't know. I just felt like from what I saw, I was kind of in and out because that's when I was filling out one of my brackets. It just seemed like it was just a bunch of thrashing about and just, guys reaching in and I don't know. It was just slappy and messy and ugh.
It's a good way to put it, is just thrashing about.
Yeah.
In my bracket, I think I have them going to the Elite 8, losing to Houston. I think that Kentucky can be beaten. I think Florida can be beaten. I think Marquette can be beaten. All of them have injury concerns. Kentucky doesn't choose to play defense at all.
I got Tech beating Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that as well. If Tech is on there, is clicking on all cylinders, I could see Kentucky losing early. And I know that a lot of people are picking them as Final Four teams because they're all like, well, defense is just effort, and all you need to do is have a little effort. Well, it's like, well, they've played 31 games so far this year, and they haven't had any effort. So why are we thinking that they're going to now? So I'm not a huge, not high on Kentucky, but I think my overall sense is if Houston, every time I was filling out a bracket this week, I was like, okay, I'll just pick. I always ended up with Auburn or Houston winning the championship every single time. Usually you'll be like, oh, I could see this path. I could see this path. I really can't see a path where, besides Auburn losing to UConn, I can't see a path where Auburn loses before the Final Four.
Yeah, I mean,
besides UConn, obviously.
I don't know. I don't know too much about Auburn. I just know I've seen what they did in the SEC tournament, and Bruce Pearl, man, talk about a fiery guy. If that doesn't get you excited to go out and play in March Madness, I mean, nothing will. I know it's kind of probably Big 12 bias a little bit just because that's in our backyard, Texas and Houston, and we're in Big 12 country, but Houston, man, they when they're on, and I know they got taken to the cleaners in the Big 12 championship game, but Iowa State's a good team too, and when Houston is on their game, man, they are a complete team.
Yeah, it's going to be a great tournament. We'll talk more about it on Monday as we get through. We'll have plenty of upsets to talk about. Hopefully, not a Longwood versus Houston upset, because I think that would ruin everybody's bracket. So I think half the people in our work pool here picked Houston to win the championship. So let's get to Wemby. So Wemby is reaching new heights, and what I mean by that is that if you didn't catch the New Heights podcast by Jason and Travis Kelce this week, they mentioned Wemby when they were talking about animals. You'll hear it right now. A language warning. There is 3 F-bombs. Thank you, Travis, for that. I will bleep them out. So if you're watching live, you'll hear them. But if you're watching after we post this, you will hear them bleeped, because obviously I wasn't able to bleep them live. So that's what you're about to hear right now. I mean, he's not that far off. How far off is Wemby to like Ivan Drago, who's prepared in a lab overseas? You know what I mean? Well,
that's why the alien nickname is fitting, right? He's not of this earth. That's the first time I've heard that clip. I mean, so yeah, I mean, interesting. I guess Jason and Travis, they're so focused on the NFL season. It's like they pick their heads up, and it's like, oh yeah, there's this 7'4" French rookie tearing it up in the NBA.
It says a lot to me that like even players as good and as great as Jason and Travis are, and they're so honed in on football for 8 months out of the year, they still know who Wemby is. They still know exactly how big of a freak that he is. Mm-hmm. And it's like his greatness, his athleticism, his talent is almost superseding the barrier, the like false barrier, the unwritten barrier that is between sports.
Yeah, well, and to think if they're recognizing that, that, hey, this guy's a game changer. I mean, so it's not a far stretch that, when all these NBA players and coaches, when they get done playing the Spurs, and it's like, yeah, this guy's for real. He's going to, it's like it adds credence to that a little bit when these, top pro athletes are also saying the same thing.
Yeah, and on a side note, I really hate how likable Jason and Travis are. It's really bothering me because as a Bronco fan, I am supposed to hate Travis. He's just so damn likable. Like, stop. It's so annoying that Jordan roots for him, and Jordan sends me this clip. I don't listen to the podcast regularly. Jordan listens to it every Wednesday, which is the only reason that I knew about this clip happening. And she's just like, listen to what Travis said. I'm like, ugh. Do I have to? Can you stop swooning for 1 second, please? But I thought it was funny. I think both of them are pretty funny, sadly.
They are. I mean, I like just seeing the little snippets. I don't know how long their podcast goes. I've heard it's
like an
lengthy.
Hour. It's like an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's too much time. I like the little snippets that sometimes. I mean, yeah, they are very likable. Where they, you can tell they just yuck it up, and oh man, it is entertaining. I like the little short clips that they're just fools.
They got a good social team.
Yeah.
Well, that conversation was all part of them talking about like if they wanted what kind of animal they would want to be if they were athletes, and that was 15 minutes in. They were
spirit animals.
They were getting that far off track 15 minutes into the podcast, which we often do here. So
a quick question from one of our listeners or / watchers is Eskimo 10 is asking if you guys think Wemby will be a Hall of Fame player sometime in the future.
I mean, if he keeps going the way he is,
no doubt.
He's putting up historic numbers. Like Don and I had this conversation, I think it was either Monday or last week, and it was just like, if you're not watching the Spurs right now and if you're not actually paying attention to what Victor is doing, you're missing out on history.
Yeah. There's only 2 guys in Spurs history that have averaged a double-double, and Wemby is now the 3rd. So
and pretty good names to go alongside.
Right, exactly. Too. Don's going to murder me for not knowing the names right off the top of my head because he showed them to me. But when you're in that kind of company, and of course also what he's doing defensively, I mean, everybody wants to look at offense, but it's just like the dude does so much. I mean, I think recently it was before the stat of blocks were recognized by the NBA, but Kareem had the quintuple double or whatever.
Yeah, I think David Robinson had one too.
So it's like there's gonna be no surprise when he does this, maybe in a couple years or so, because he's got the skill set to do it.
I mean, in speaking to the defensive player aspect of this, the next thing I have on the rundown is talking about his defensive player of the year odds. I mean, he is just ridiculous with the dad blocks and just his defensive presence changes the entire game. Mm-hmm. The Spurs themselves are not a great defensive team by any stretch of the imagination. They've gotten much, much better over the last 2 months, I would say. Their defensive metrics have all gotten better, but so has the entire NBA. I don't know why the scoring has gone way down in the last couple of weeks since the All-Star break. But just focusing on Wemby, he's averaging 3.5 blocks a game. Over his last 10 games, he's averaging almost 5 blocks a game, which is just an ungodly number. Like, how do you get 5 blocks a game in the NBA when you're playing against the best athletes in the world? Like, it's just insane.
And some of those, I mean, we hear the stat block and we think, oh, it's a big swat that ends up in the 3rd row or something like that. But, sometimes too, it's those little ones where he gets a piece of and it just alters the shot. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get to the hoop, but still it counts the same. I mean, it all counts the same. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but that's the thing is sometimes in just watching him, he's near the paint, right? But all he needs is like a step and a half, and he's out there guarding the 3-point line too.
Yeah, and it's not even a block. He just catches it. I was watching the Austin game. You were there. You saw probably his block on Dennis Schroeder, who he recovered.
The one that ended the game?
That one that ended the game that he blocked against the backboard. Like, It doesn't even look like he's blocking it against the backboard because he's just grabbing it, essentially.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous especially how much he can recover from, like, if he gets beat or if his guy gets beat, if he's up on the free throw line, he can recover and swat a reverse layup from a smaller guy easily.
And it's not even so much him getting beat, but also like the help defense too, where if some other guy, a teammate is guarding, gets past him or something like that, he's over there helping and getting to the ball too. So, yeah, he's fun to watch on the defensive end.
He is, and his Defensive Player of the Year award status right now, he's plus 400. He's the second favorite, I guess. Rudy Gobert is the prohibitive favorite. He has been all year, pretty much. And correct me if I'm wrong, but my stance on individual awards like this, not MVP, because MVP is, I think, most valuable player to your team and like what would happen if you weren't on it. Mm-hmm. Defensive Player of the Year, I think, is more of a solo award. So I think that the fact that people are holding against him being Wemby, that the team isn't very good defensively and that the team isn't very good at all, I think the fact that they're holding that against him is kind of BS. I mean, Rudy Gobert is playing on one of the best teams in the league. He is a fantastic defensive player. I don't want this to come off as Rudy Gobert being bad. But what Wemby is doing is better than what Rudy Gobert is doing.
Yeah. And how much of it is kind of like he's been a Defensive Player of the Year guy before. He's kind of like the known commodity, him being Rudy Gobert, to where it's like until – and I think Wemby is competing with him. He's leading the lead in blocks. How could he not be in the conversation? He is. But it's like until you do something that completely unseats the incumbent, it's like how can you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is maybe like name recognition. I do think you have a good point where it's like, the Spurs being as bad as they are record-wise, that kind of takes away the shine of it a little bit. So but he's going to win. He'll win a handful of these before his career's over.
He'll win 5 to 6, I would guess. Like he's going to be a perennial favorite for this award.
Yeah.
A rookie has never won the award. But if he doesn't win this award, what rookie ever will?
Right.
He's going to change the league defensively and offensively. He's going to change the league in general. Mm-hmm. He already is changing the league defensively. Like, people have to adjust their entire game plans for knowing exactly where Wemby is on the court and how you can get around him, what you can run. And that's what I think a defensive player of the year is. Mm-hmm. So I just don't understand, I guess maybe the other aspect of it is that he's not seen as much because they're so bad. They got some of those national TV games taken away and rescheduled a little bit. I think they only have one left the rest of the season. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves are really good. They're going to be on national TV multiple times in the last few weeks of the season. So it's more eyes on Gobert seeing what he does. Maybe people don't see what Wemby does all the time. I don't know. Do you think that has something to play into it as well?
Maybe a little bit, I think, because like even during the All-Star weekend, going back to that, the guys on the TNT set, they were asking him about the dinner that he had with Tim and Manu and Tony. It's just like where everybody here in San Antonio, it's like, we've known about this for months. Why are y'all rehashing that again? But so I think a little bit of that plays into it. But of course, he could care less about the defensive player of the year. He's a lock for rookie of the year. So.
Yeah, I mean, rookie of the year's in the bag. Like, rookie of the year's done.
Right.
Chet has fallen so far behind that it's ridiculous. Last thing I wanted to get to real quick before we get out of here. Baseball opening day was yesterday. Did you guys? Anybody else not know?
I was aware. I mean, Soul Series.
Did you watch it?
I did not watch it.
Was that because it was at 6 o'clock in the morning?
I mean, sleep is more important to me, so I'm going to take care of myself first before watching, two teams that I'm not really
it also wasn't the Rangers
vested in. No, I mean it's fine. I mean, here's the thing. NFL, NBA, what are they doing? They're playing games internationally. Baseball needs to do the same thing. I mean, and it fits for them, especially these two teams, because Ha-Seong Kim, a Korean native, for the Padres. I think there's one other player, reliever for the Padres that's from Korea. You have, of course, the international superstar, Shohei Ohtani, and Yamamoto, his Japanese teammate. It makes sense that those two are right there, making that. I mean, we heard all the time, like when Ichiro was playing, all the folks in Japan are getting up early to watch his games and stuff like that. I'm sure a bunch of fans in LA and San Diego were getting up and watching early.
I get that. And I get why they played games over there, but doing it on opening day is a different beast entirely, I think that especially because I don't think baseball really advertised it as much as they could have. I barely knew, and I'm as involved in sports as anybody. Mm-hmm. I watch, pretty much that's all I watch, besides like a couple of episodes of Love is Blind on Netflix with my wife. That's a horrible show, by the way. I can't get over how bad that show is. Huh? It's just so bad. It's so bad.
Better or worse than The Bachelor?
Never watched an episode of The Bachelor in my life.
Neither have I, but I don't know. I figured that's the one that's maybe most comparable.
Luis is trying to chug Purell over there while we're talking about Love is Blind. It's the worst show of all time. But I don't want to get off on a tangent there and how horrible of a actress Chelsea is, but
it's a story about blind people fall in love.
It should be. I would be more entertained by that. But I just don't understand how you can have opening day for two teams that are on the Pacific or on the West Coast. So 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:05 is when this game started for the Dodgers and the Padres fans out there. I know the Dodgers are nationwide and they're one of the biggest fan bases in the country.
One of the bigger brands.
I get that, but I don't understand how you can take opening day away from either the San Diego or the LA audiences. You basically took opening day.
No, I don't know. Maybe technically yes, but all 30 MLB teams are still going to be playing on opening day, weather permitting, a week from tomorrow. I mean, so I think they're still going to have that feeling of a new season and everything, playing in front of the home fans and all that kind of stuff. It's all part of the global reach, and MLB, they're lagging behind as far as I think in terms of the NFL and NBA, because I mean obviously you've seen it. NBA, they have all these international stars: Jokic, Giannis, Luka. It's a global game now. MLB, yeah, it's a little bit of a global game. It has been for a long time, but they haven't done anything to expand their viewership.
So if the Spurs open, we know the Spurs are playing in France next year. If the Spurs play opening day, their first game of the season in France, is that good or bad? Is that good with you or is that bad?
Well, I don't think they'll be playing opening day.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like, that's the point. Are you really going to open the? They just signed Shohei Ohtani.
If Wemby wants to do it, the NBA is going to say, okay, yeah, we're going to make that happen.
If they just signed Yamamoto to what, $350 million? They just signed Shohei Ohtani to $700 million. Yeah. And the first time that the Dodgers fans have a chance to see them in Dodger blue, they're playing overseas.
And I guarantee you a few people from LA made the trip.
I mean,
so they got to see him, and I'm sure all of the early morning bar scenes and diners and stuff out at LA and San Diego were packed.
I'm actually
to watch those games.
I'm actually surprised that you don't that you're kind of on board with this. Because I know you're kind of an old baseball soul as I am.
Yeah, sure.
Because I cherish opening day. Opening day is like, it was supposed to be parades. It was supposed to be.
And they're still going to have it. All 30 teams are going to be playing next week.
But the thing is, only person who cares about opening. You only care about opening day for your own team.
Yeah.
I
care about opening day.
I don't care about opening day for other teams.
Actually, I disagree with that one. I care about opening day and the sanctity of opening day. Opening day used to be like a national holiday, pretty much.
It's like a baseball holiday. Yeah, I mean, not everybody's a baseball fan.
I'm just a nerd.
We bring Don Harrison here right now, and he's just like, wait, opening day's next week? That's happening?
But I think what Zach was saying is he doesn't care if they do it as long as it isn't his team, right?
Yeah. I mean, like if the Rangers did it, I mean, it'd be kind of a bummer, but it's like, I mean, it's kind of cool, that they're playing somewhere else, because again, it's all about expanding the fan base a little bit. I mean, today up in Arlington, there's Rangers fans. Are they worried about opening day? And it's already happened between the Dodgers and Padres. No, they're lined up out the door waiting to get gold-trimmed merchandise this morning up at the Ranger Stadium, because they're excited to welcome their world champion Texas Rangers.
Well, as always, you're wrong and I'm right.
Yeah. That's accurate.
We're going to keep it short and sweet today. That's all we got for you today on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Thank you so much to everyone for listening and taking a moment out of the madness to tune into our blabbering and hearing from Jason and Travis Kelce a little bit. Remember to download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. We'll see you right back here on Monday. Everyone enjoy the best few days of the tournament. This should be a national holiday. I'm sad that we all have to work, but oh well. It's fine. We'll throw you some highlights.
We'll soldier on through.
We'll soldier on through with it's not even Jim Nance anymore. That sucks too. Anyway, everybody else,
getting ready for the
we'll
Masters.
Talk to you on Monday. I hope your bracket isn't busted by the next time we chat. See you then.